Courtney. I am back with a collection of short stories that are dark, they're funny, they're sexy, they're thought provoking, all about supernatural fantasy and magic. Really interesting. Also, most of them are set in and around the Atlanta area where the author is from. So I am excited. It's 12 stories, Hags, Haints, and Hoodoo, which was a riot. I enjoyed it. I finished it really, really quickly all in one day. So let's talk about these stories. The first story is called After the Sky Fell. Basically, the world has been destroyed by an alien invasion with a bunch of rocks and balls of fire. And the only person left is 7-year-old Sheba. And Sheba is taken into quarantine by the aliens. The aliens come to Sheba after a few days and they tell her that they saved her because she must be some sort of powerful being and they're going to take good care of her. Then they take off their suits, which is really interesting what they look like. Not going to tell you. Then they bring in this other little boy and say that through them, humanity will survive and that the earth has been cleansed and the future is now theirs. So this was my least favorite story, I will say, because, it involved children. It wasn't really funny. It was very symbolic. Just, it's one of those stories that just shows you the children are really the future. The next story is called Another Day in the A. A is for Atlanta. And it's a really funny story about this woman named Violet from Atlanta who has a really funky outlook on life. She thinks that the world is monotonous. She just goes to work, goes home, eats, and just repeats things all over again. So just really miserable attitude. And then one day she has this encounter with death that was very, very tempting. And then she starts to gain a new perspective on life. So this was a really, really funny story. I think most people will really enjoy it. The third story is called Bluebeard. It's a dark thriller about this guy named Ivan Bluebeard. Now, Ivan Bluebeard is this rich, handsome, sexy guy. His beard is really, really black that it almost appears blue, which is why it's called Bluebeard. And he meets Amina. And he wants to make Amina his 9th wife. So he's been around a while. But they haven't been dating that long. So Amina says, let me think about it. And loosely considers it until she finds the bodies of his ex-8 wives in his basement. And then she hightails it out of there. So with the help of her dead grandmother, she somehow gets rid of Ivan Bluebeard and manages to inherit all of his money. So very good story. I think this one was probably the most entertaining one for me. The fourth story is called Do You Believe in Magic? Now, this story is a really engrossing, entertaining story. And you have Valerie who's visiting her friend Latrell. And she tells Latrell, you know what? I think I have some magic powers. I can do things. I can make things move. I can make things happen. Of course, Latrell doesn't believe her because Valerie is a bit quirky. However, Valerie does have receipts. But I will say by the end of the story, Latrell definitely becomes a believer. Now, this story was kind of like, you speaking to your homegirl at home. It was really, really relatable. But I was left like, no, is that the end of the story? I really enjoyed it. I wanted to keep going and then it just ended. These are short stories, so I get it. But this was a story that I wouldn't mind, a longer format for. Then you have the story Oddballs. Oddballs is a curious and funny story about Chantel, who's this unique looking, quirky girl, who spouts out just random facts throughout the entire book. And then she meets Calvin, who's this good looking jock, that she didn't think would ever, pay attention to her. But they wound up going out on a date. And then they find out that they have something very unique in common. So you never know what people are hiding. Then you have Peaches, which is a very interesting story. It's about Cornroy, who is this guy in jail for murder. And he is having a conversation with his cellmate, Sweet Meat. This guy's name is Sweet Alicious Ulysses Meath the Third. I can't make this up. So anyway, Conroy is telling Sweet Meat about his girlfriend Peaches, this fine, black girl that he likes, Conroy's wife. And he's telling him how he meets Peaches and then he starts suffering from sleep paralysis. And they seem to have some sort of connection. Now, this was a really good story. What I liked is that it was really funny, but it was told like a conversation man to man, kind of like a tame, conversation between two dudes when no one else is around. And I was laughing out loud a few times. I did enjoy this story. Another story is called Pickles by the River. Now, this one is a dark tale. It's a symbolic tale of Kwame, who's, had a very tough year. His wife has died. His child has gone like overseas for school or work or something. He lost his job and he's lost his home. So there's a lot going on with this guy. So he is traveling from Atlanta to New Orleans to live it up. He's trying to go to the Bayou Bowl and then meet all his friends and, have a little turn up. I don't blame him. He needs it. And so while he's out, he meets this mysterious woman who loves her some pickles. Can't blame her. And, somehow this transforms his life. This is one of those tales that make you second guess what happens when you go out at night and meet people. This is kind of an ominous, dark tale and very serious, but I really did enjoy it. Okay, everybody, I'm back. Had to get my Amazon. Okay, so you have Reminiscing as the 8th story. Reminiscing is a story of female empowerment and about true friendship. It's set in 1932, where you have June May, who's new in town, that rents a room in a boarding house for other women. And all is well with June, even though she's a bit, peculiar and odd. She's accepted as one of the fold and has no issues with anyone until a girl named Alice, the troublemaker, moves into the house and, potentially can expose June May's secrets. I love the twist at the end, really juicy. And I thought it was great about how you have this all is welcome mentality at the boarding house. I really felt that was really good, especially for young women. The 9th story is Samson and Delilah. Samson and Delilah is this hilarious, magical story of how this older couple helps this young woman with her love problems that apparently she's been having this same love problem for centuries. So I think that this is a very unique story. Some parts of it made my skin crawl, probably still is. And I think that maybe, just maybe, despite all the drama in relationships, maybe some people are still just destined to be together. The 10th story is called School Bus Stop. Now, this is a dark, creepy story about how 2 children are kidnapped from a school bus stop by some creepo and how the guardian angel comes to save them. Much of this story, I was holding my breath. Luckily, it was one of those quick reads. It was like in and out, and the resolution was positive because I probably would have put this book down if it was not. The 11th story is called Circuit, if I'm saying that right. It's about a queen who has just given birth to her daughter, and this jealous servant comes in and threatens them. But the baby is not gonna have that. This is a unique story. It was very surprising. You learn a lot about the luxury of being a queen. Now, I can deal with that. The last story is called Wedding Day Karma. Now, this is one of those funny, entertaining, engrossing stories that's about this conniving woman who is preparing for her wedding that day. And let's just say that she does not make it down the aisle and is not for the reason you may think. Felt that the ending was a bit too quick because I would have loved to read more about this woman. I thought that her story was really, really interesting, and I like a good juicy scandalous character. Overall, I enjoyed immensely reading this book. I like that they were all by the same author and that they were all uniquely different. If I didn't know that this was one book and one author, I would have thought that it was multiple people writing this book. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you take a look at Hags, Haints, and Hoodoos. Please click like and subscribe. Help my channel out so I can keep reading funny stories like this. Bye-bye and have a good day.